Thank you so much for the honor. It's very humbling for me. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and for this recognition. I really feel I'm here sitting on the shoulders of giants. Isaac Newton said that and many others, with the understanding that I can see more because I sit on the shoulders of giants. When I was 21, I joined the United Nations. I was very young, didn't know even what I was doing. When I was 22, I joined UNCED a few years before the 92 Earth Summit. I was assisting someone who was putting together some chapters of Agenda 21. And to go to UNCED, at some point there was someone who gave me the advice, rather than staying in UNCTAD, the United Nations Trade Conference on Development and Trade, and go to UNCED, because it was something new. So someone was on my way to give me that advice. It's not because I knew. When the 92 Earth Summit was over, I was asked where I wanted to go, whether to stay in Geneva, go to New York. There was a new office going to be open as a follow-up for the Earth Summit. I didn't know how to make the decision, but someone was there on my way giving me an advice, and I took the advice. So again, when in 95, someone asked me, why don't I go to the university? So someone was there to give me the advice. And suddenly in 96, when I was 27 years old, I started working directly with Maurice Strong, the former Secretary General of the Earth Summit, Mikhail Gorbachev, and Stephen Rockefeller. I was 27 years old. Women, young, with a not very strong English, and somehow I was there, by the advice of a few people here and there. So very humbling, in a very young age, without much academic training, not even a strong English, I was working with those giants, somehow. And immediately after that, in 97, we formed the Earth Charter Commission. It was the commission that oversaw the drafting and consultation process of the Earth Charter. And right after that, I started meeting Wangari Maathai, Wakaka Hironaka, Kamala Chaudhry, women leaders. And these were my mentors, really. I was privileged enough to have had the opportunity to work with these people from a very young age. And it was very humbling, and that's why I really say I'm sitting here on the shoulders of the giants, these big giants. And that's why I can see more. So interestingly enough, Gorbachev and Maurice Strong got together in 95, thinking that there was a lot of work that could be done beyond the spheres of the United Nations. At that time, it was a few years after the Soviet Union was collapsed, and Gorbachev saw the need for an earth ethic, a moral compass among humanity. And at the same time, in parallel, even without knowing, Maurice Strong had the same thinking, that there was a need for an instrument, a new charter, a map, to guide not only states and governments, but people, because both of them knew that there were some limitations within the sphere of intergovernmental negotiations. So they were visionaries in the sense that we cannot only expect solutions to come from governments and from international intergovernmental negotiations, but from the capacity of people to join hands, to cooperate, people across discipline, across areas of expertise, people, humans, not governments. The capacity of people across cultures and across disciplines to join hands So they were visionaries in that sense. And I was just privileged to be there. And privileged now with the responsibility to carry on that vision. And I say a vision such as this one cannot be fulfilled within one generation. It requires several generations to fulfill a vision. Similarly, when we build a big fortress in many years ago, they required several generations, 100 years sometimes to build a big fortress. But some commonality to make that happen was a shared vision. So a shared vision can go across generations. So I feel that I just take that vision and I carry on, trying to spread the seeds of hope that we can find in the Earth Charter. So let me basically share a few things, uniqueness of the Earth Charter movement and the Earth Charter document in itself. First is a people's movement. But it's a unique people's movement because it involves individuals that were mingled with governments. It emerged out of the United Nations. It was an idea of the United Nations. So it's unique because it's not really a UN initiative anymore, but it emerged out of the United Nations as an idea. It emerged out of the 1987 Brundtland Commission report, Our Common Future, that recommended the need of a new charter. So back in '87. And it went through the process of the 92. So again, it was something that emerged out of the UN, but right after the 92 Earth Summit, Maurice Strong and Mikhail Gorbachev saw the importance to take it out of that realm of UN and really engage civil society. This was quite visionary. So since its launch, the Earth Charter really became a movement that is a worldwide movement that involves individuals and organizations that embrace that vision that is articulated in the Earth Charter document. So that's one uniqueness of as a movement that emerged out of the UN, works in collaboration with the UN, but is not solely within the realm of the UN. There's that freedom beyond intergovernmental negotiations. Second, the content. The content that we can find in the Earth Charter is comprehensive, inclusive, broad, and extremely life-centric and eco-centric. And third, the Earth Charter reflects a number of international treaties. For instance, in '95, there was the Women's Summit on Women and Development in Beijing, and keywords from the outcomes of that is reflected in the Earth Charter in Principle 11 on gender, equity, and equality, as an example. But there are many others, such as in the Rio Declaration in '92, there is a very strong understanding on the principle of common but differentiated responsibility. And that idea is also reflected in the Earth Charter. So if you envision, there's various documents in international treaties over the past 30 to 40 years, and key words, key principles were brought in to the Earth Charter, giving it also its richness. It builds on that. So lastly, around the worldviews and key ideas we can find in the Earth Charter. And if we want to look at what's the relationship of the Earth Charter and the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals is an agenda that was launched in the year 2015, as you may know, and it sets goals. The Earth Charter articulates an ethical framework, a foundation. So the goals are something that we can see, such as a building, but that building needs to be holding on a foundation. The bigger, the taller the building is, the more important the foundation of that building is, right? So the Earth Charter articulates that ethical foundation for building a more just, sustainable, and peaceful world. So again, one is setting goals, the other one is setting an ethical foundation framework for that. Another piece of comparison is that the UN Sustainable Development Goals were negotiated by governments, and therefore there's a very strong anthropocentric approach within the UN SDGs. Whereas the Earth Charter, with that freedom, has a much more life-centric, ecocentric approach. So one is more anthropocentric, the other one, in the Earth Charter, the vision that is articulated in the Earth Charter is more ecocentric or life-centric, meaning that it really makes a strong call for us to expand and deepen our consciousness with regards to how we ought to relate not only among people across cultures, but also our relationship with the large living world. So it's an invitation for us to expand what we see, to expand our consciousness with regards to our relationship with the community of life. And it's an invitation for that sense of community. We belong to an earth community, not only among humans, but also humans in nature, the large living world, the community of life, all that life that is non-human there. So just by inspiring us, awakening in our minds that sense of connection with the large living world, it's really at the core of the idea that is in the Earth Charter. I invite you to think that much of the world problems is precisely because of an issue of mindset and short-sightedness that doesn't allow us to see our interconnections with life, our interdependence with life, our interdependence with people across nations, across cultures. So it's a sense of disconnection with life. The current predominant society, urbanized, is really nurturing a lot of sense of disconnection. Whereas in the Earth Charter, we're articulating a worldview that is fostering a sense of connection. So I think this is a very similar ideas that I have come across when I hear the huge work that Dr. Ikeda did over his life. It was an ongoing, constant work over years and years to foster a culture of collaboration across the world, to foster a sense of interdependence, friendship across cultures. So I see that there are a lot of synergies and similarities, obviously, in the work, in the huge effort over decades of Dr. Ikeda. So I feel very privileged to be here, standing here with you. I want to honor his memory and also be grateful for the huge work he has done over decades to foster a worldview that's very similar to the Earth Charter. So therefore I find the collaboration over the years very natural. In 1998, around 98 and 99, there was still a consultation process going on around the Earth Charter, and I know Dr. Ikeda got very interested, precisely because probably he saw how much it reflected the work he did. And he not only contributed with key ideas that we find in the Earth Charter, but also involved a whole effort for 2 years that a group of people went around Malaysia, Indonesia, I think the Philippines, India, to gather. It was actually organized by SGI together with us to visit these countries to collect thoughts and ideas through the consultation of the Earth Charter. And it was really his idea of our initial collaboration in those days, 98, 99. And I feel very privileged that sometimes we have a collaboration with an institution or with some people, that stay on for a year, for 2 years, for a few years, and then suddenly it evaporates. The collaboration between Earthcharter International and SGI has gone over years and decades now, so we can really celebrate that own long-term, enduring collaboration that was able to overcome time, I would say. I here would like to address the students. It's not always easy to study. Sometimes we ask a lot of questions. Shall I continue? It's difficult. Am I on the right track? Sometimes we come from a family that it's hard to support our upbringing in higher education. So it's important that we acknowledge that sort of support that comes from different sides, parents, friends, uncles, grandparents that are there holding for you to be here and to have a life of self-realization, to overcome your current context. So it's not really only about you studying, it's the support system around you that you can be grateful and recognize. In the midst of those questions that you have, it's so hard, it's so difficult, am I on the right track? Sometimes there are angels that come and give you an advice and support that is very valuable. And the fact that there are students across the world going through the same questions. It's very challenging. We live in a challenging time. It requires a lot of resolve and commitment and responsibility with oneself, with the close community that we belong, and with the large living world. It requires really a deep sense of ethical, moral responsibility and a sense of care. Care with the well-being of people and the large community of life. So I would like to end by asking yourselves that question of what do you feel when you're looking at the big full moon? What is your feeling when you're under beautiful sky in the night and you have that privilege and opportunity to appreciate a full moon night? What do you feel? How does that make you feel? Can you also bring yourself when you are having that moment of privilege of seeing a beautiful sunset? How does that make you feel? I would dare to think that independently of where we come from, our cultures, our countries, the language we speak, independently of what we have studied, we have a same feeling of awe. Awe when you see the full moon, awe when you see the sky full of stars, a sense of awe when you see the sunset. So this is really what I think makes us humans, is our capacity to feel that connection and to feel how much beauty can transform our lives. So may we often carry with us that capacity to feel, to sense, to care for the beauty of being alive and for our community, friends and family, but also Earth in its whole community. Thank you so much for the honor, and I hope I will fulfill this big responsibility to carry on this ongoing collaboration with Earthcharter International and SGI. Thank you so much for Soka University for the opportunity.